guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice. I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, please do consider subscribing. I have read around 150 books this year, which is a lot of books. I did not realize I've read so many books, and while I had one of the best reading years ever, and I want to talk about all of the books that I have read, and so I made a separate video for like my 3 to 4 star reads that was just so good. These are the top 23 books that have just sort of changed my life. They were very entertaining, enjoyable, all of those things, but in a very small way or in a very huge way, they sort of changed the way I look at the world, and they changed the kind of person that I am. Here we are talking about the top 23 reads of 2023, and to make it a little more interesting, I have decided to rank them from number 23 to number 1. And that's it. I have my coffee over here. I'm all comfortable, not very comfortable, but kind of comfortable over here. Let's begin the video. At number 23, we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, which is a book that I read in the cozy fall season, even though there's no fall in India. That is when the sun started going down very early, and it was started to get cozy, and I was like, I want to read something cozy at that time, and I read Legends and Lattes for that. All of the videos in which I have read these books will be in the description in case you want to see my reaction to these books. I did not expect it to be so amazing. I knew that this is a cozy fantasy, and I was just thinking to myself that if I am reading fantasy, I want the stakes to be high, and if the stakes are not high, if it's going to be cozy, I don't really care, because I wouldn't care about the entire situation, I wouldn't care about the characters, I don't think it'll be my cup of tea. So when I started reading this, the two things that were going for me were, one, the lattes, the coffee. Two, I had just read a lot of dark thrillers, and I just wanted to get out of that phase. I wanted to read something very cozy. I started reading this book, and it shocked me. It is the story of Viv, who is an orc, and she has a very violent past, but now she wants to move on, and so she decides to open a cafe, a coffee shop, in a place that does not even know what coffee is. So she is introducing coffee to all of these people that did not know that it existed. Number one, I want to say coffee, but that was not the best part of the book. The best part of the book was all of the relationships that Viv was having. All of the other characters, even though they were side characters, Viv has the main character energy. They did not feel like side characters. It is sort of like a found family trope a little bit, and it's so nice to see all of those relationships, especially when they're so nice to each other. Number two was all of the coffee talks. Okay, Viv, when she's having coffee, the way people react when they have coffee, the entire development of what coffee can be like, what the coffee world is like, every single thing about coffee, it was so good. You can literally smell the coffee. As I said, all these books have impacted me in a small or a big way, and the way in which this book impacted me was that I've just been looking at my own coffee in such a different way after reading this book. Especially when I was reading this book, I genuinely enjoyed my coffee. I'm sorry, I know that may be small, but having those small pleasures in your life every single day just makes your day a little brighter, and I cannot miss out on it. Number 22 is Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli and Aisha Saeed. This is the story of, wait, I forgot the character name, Jamie and Maya, who are having some problems in their own life, but due to certain circumstances, they cross each other's path, and now they have to go and canvass the area for a particular election, and they have to ask if the person is going to vote yes, no, or maybe so for the candidate. As you move forward, this is one of the most innocent YA books that I have ever read. This one raised my standards so much for the innocent part of a YA book that I have not been able to enjoy a lot of YA books. I'm just seeing how adult the YA books get sometimes. Even if they are young adult, it's supposed to be this innocent, and I'm looking for books that are this innocent, this adorable, this cute, and this vulnerable, because I just feel like when I was that age, I was like that. It was very relatable, and I just do wish that the world is like that, where young adults are like this. They look at the world in the way in which Jamie and Maya look at the world. Along with that, the side characters, they did not feel like side characters at all. They were so important to the story, so I did not feel like, you know, time is getting wasted or I'm getting bored at any point. I created so many points. So if you're looking for a good YA romance, where romance is sort of like a subplot, it's friends to lovers, friendship is a bigger part, then this is your book. You have to read this one. You can read this as a teenager too. Same goes with Legends and Lattes. You can read it as a beginner if you want to start with fantasy and if you're a teenager. Number 21, we have Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously, a Taylor Jenkins Reid book was going to be there in this pile. I have read only 2 more books by her and I just cannot wait to read Daisy Jones and the Six, because I know it's going to be literally amazing. It's a story of Carrie Soto, who was the world's best tennis player, and then she retired due to some reasons, and now she has come back. Obviously, that's what the title says. That's what the book is going to be about. And you see her journey in the present and you see her journey in the past. Carrie Soto is such a strong character, not exactly like Evelyn Hugo, but one of those characters that you just cannot forget. She's a badass, she is brash, sometimes she is rude, but the way she has built her boundaries and the confidence that she has is infectious. I think what TGR does the best is that there'll be all of these characters that are so good and such, like, they're such badasses, but then you also get to see under the layers and you see all of the emotions that they're going through, and we saw that in this too, with a little bit of romance here and there, with her relationship with her father. It was everything all packed up in one book. If you are not reading this book because you think that you don't know anything about tennis, it's not like that. Tennis has been talked about in a way where you get to know what tennis is like by reading about the story of Carrie Soto. It actually excited me to go to learn how to play tennis. Great for beginners, easy to read, and even teenagers can read it. I really want teenagers to read it. Teenage girls, I want them to read it and see what sort of a badass they can be, and the kind of support that they can expect from the people that they put their trust in. At number 20, we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which is the best thriller I have read, not just in 2023 but literally in my entire life. This is a proper thriller, the kind of book where when you spend money on it and you read the story, you're like, yeah, that was a complete paisa vasool experience. There was not 1 second of it where I felt like it's getting a little bit slow or it is the build up, because even the build up gave me such adrenaline rush, and I was genuinely exhausted when I got done with this book just because of how much it took from me. It's the story of a woman who is just trying to have a good time and she starts reading a book on her Kindle, but the book sucks. She gives it a 1 star, and then the author starts stalking her and trying to kill her because she gave the book 1 star. Within the chapter, the main character is talking and then it will shift to the perspective of the author, and it's almost like a movie where, you know, when the shots change, you get to see the whole thing, even if the characters are seeing only their perspective. Not 1 minute of boredom, extremely airtight, and it's very easy to read. You can read it as a beginner. Not for teenagers though, because it's super slasher vibes, super graphic. I don't think teenagers can read that. At number 19, we have Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, which is the best mystery that I have read in 2023. I won't say ever, because this is at the level of Behind Her Eyes. It's a story of this couple who want to reignite their passion for each other and sort of solve some problems that they have been having. So they travel to a different place for their 10th marriage anniversary, I guess. Yeah, 10th wedding anniversary. But as they reach over there, you get to see all of the things that they have been hiding from each other, and secrets are revealed. And the book is so much more than that. This is the book that I read the fastest also this year, not because my reading speed just suddenly became really good, but because of the way it's written in. Each chapter ended with some or the other cliffhanger. It ends with some or the other clue, and you are constantly trying to piece it all together, but the ending still shocks you. It genuinely shocks you. Great for beginners, and I think teenagers can read it. Read the trigger warnings, but I think teenagers can read it because it's just not that graphic. Number 18, we have Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellers. This is a literary fiction and it is the best book for the fans of Sally Rooney. The weird thing is that I am not the biggest fan of Sally Rooney, and even then I actually genuinely loved this book so much. It was one of the 6-star reads of the year. It's the story of Cleopatra and Frankenstein who meet and they have this instant connection, and within 6 months they're married, but you also see the ripple effect of their relationship and how it has affected everybody around them. So you get to see them as characters, as people, and their relationships from different perspectives of all of these different people and not just them. It makes the reading a little bit complicated, and so I won't say that this book is for beginners. Even in the literary fiction world, I don't think it's for beginners and I don't think it's for teenagers. But if you are a seasoned reader and you're looking for something that is different from what you have been reading, or you like Sally Rooney, things like that, then I think you will love this book a lot. The characters were great, and a lot of times I don't like grey characters because I like to root for the characters. But in this one, even if the characters were grey, I was genuinely fascinated by each and every one of them. Even though there were so many POVs, I just loved getting into the mind of all of these people. They seemed so real. I feel like these people actually genuinely exist in the world. The best part was the writing style. The writing style is so layered where you can just read the book on a surface level and enjoy the story of these people who are just doing fucked up stuff, but you can also get under the layers, you can peel the onion, and then you'll come to know that they're actually trying to be good people even if they're not able to be good people, and it's a reflection on what being human can be like. The ending was just so satisfying because a lot of times, for example, in Normal People or A Little Life, which are literary fictions that give me this vibe, I have not enjoyed the ending. This one, on the other hand, I loved the ending so much. It's not a happy ending, it's the perfect ending. I still remember the last 2-3 lines, the dialogue between Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and it's just so good. 17, 16 and 15 is the Heartstopper series, which I only have the first book because I got this one like in hardcover. I want to collect all of the books in hardcover slowly and slowly. It's just insanely expensive, so it's gonna take time. I started reading it because I saw that it's a graphic novel and I sort of wanted a break from words, and I was doing a 24-hour readathon, and I was like, if I read this book, I'm just going to actually genuinely read instead of just skim through the words, because it is visual, because it has pictures. I had left the camera on just to take the initial clips of me reading the book, but the camera was on the whole time because I finished reading the book so quickly, and I saw my reaction and I was shocked to be crying at 7 a.m. in the morning, having my coffee and reading a book, because it was so vulnerable, and I got so insanely attached to the characters. It's a story of two boys who meet and fall in love. That is all you need to know. The biggest part of it is the Alice Oseman magic. I love Radio Silence by Alice Oseman so much, and then I read Loveless and I did not like it that much, but then I've read this and I'm like, Alice Oseman is sort of like an autobi author. If she's writing anything, even if it is not going to be a 5-star read, 6-star read, I am buying it and I'm reading it, because the way she deals with such heavy topics in the most warm, sensitive, vulnerable way, it's so beautiful. This world is dreamy. This world is the kind of world you would want in your real life, and I genuinely hope that a lot of people read these books and they make that sort of an environment for people in the real world, because I really want this to be true. I just want people to look at each other that way. And also the side characters in this book, they did not feel like side characters at all. It was just also fantastical, even though it's not a fantasy novel. Great for beginners, obviously, because it's a graphic novel, and great for teenagers. Teenagers read this book. At number 14, we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, which is a story of Sam and Sadie who are trying to build games throughout their life, and you just see their journey, literally from the time when they're children to the whatever, like I'm not gonna tell you till when. I cannot believe how real these characters were. Though there is story in it and it moves forward with their lives, and you go to the past and you are in the present and there are multiple POVs, whatnot, it all ties up so well and it's written so beautifully. The quotations are all so good. Everything is so good. But the best part about this book are the characters. Grey character alert again. They do things that make me want to just, I don't know, bang my head when I am in their POV, because I'm seeing what they are thinking. I'm like, why are you thinking all of these things? I can see that's not what is going on. Why are you doing this? I can see that's not what is going on. And for the longest time, I was getting annoyed, even though I was attached to the characters. But then there comes a point after which the entire story that you have been reading, it's like there is a paper and somebody just painted over it, and now you suddenly love the entire book. You look at the entire story in a different way, and you realize that these characters will never ever leave you. I know for a fact that people like this exist in the world. I know some people like this. With this book, I would say you can read it as a beginner in the literary fiction world, even though it is a little bit scary to look at, even though the text is small. I think you can definitely give it a shot. And would I recommend? I don't think, yeah, no. I don't think I'll recommend it to teenagers because there are certain topics which are too adult. At number 13, we have Miss Ice Sandwich by Mieko Kawakami, which is a story of a little boy who is very fascinated by this one woman in a store, in an what do they call it, department store, grocery store. She gives him egg sandwiches. I mean, she packs the egg sandwiches for him when he buys an egg sandwich, and he's so fascinated by her and her eyes remind him of ice sandwich, and so he calls her Miss Ice Sandwich, and he tries to go to the store as much as possible because he just wants to see her. This is not the best description of the book. I'm giving this description because that's what is there in the blurb, and that's all I can tell you. Otherwise, it's just gonna spoil the fun of it. But the book is so much more than that. It's a story of this little boy growing up and not liking growing up. This is the one book that has made me realize that short books can be amazing. I think for the longest time I have tried to avoid short books because I was like, there are not enough pages for me to enjoy the writing. I cannot get connected with the characters so quickly. Then why will I enjoy the book at all? Why will I read it at all? But when I was reading this book, I got attached to the character, I think 11 pages in. And after that, I just wanted to highlight the entire book. Yes, exactly 11 pages in, because of how amazing it was, how attached I am to this little boy. It made me cry, not just for the kid, but also for myself, because I was sort of in that place at the time, and not tears of sadness, tears of emotional release, tears of like an emotional catharsis. And so this was actually a 6-star read for me, even if it is a short book. Mieko Kawakami is amazing. I have read 2 books by her. I love both of them. Can't wait to read other books by her. If you want to start with short stories, you can start with this. If you want to start with Japanese literature, yes, because it is translated from Japanese to English by Louise Heal Kawai. You can start with this book and you can read it even if you are a teenager. At number 12, we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This is my most favorite crime fiction of the year, or also maybe my entire life. It's a story of a mother who's waiting for her son, and she sees him through the window, and then he comes, and then she sees him kill a man without any reason, and then she travels back in time to prevent a murder that has already taken place. This book is so insanely much more than that. It has themes of motherhood, and I'll just talk about this one theme because I was connected to Jen, I think her name is, yeah. Jen is going through all of this stuff almost alone, and I was so connected to her, and just the way she looks at motherhood, and she's questioning herself whether she did a good job or not, and then you see her connection with her son, and it's all so tender, it's all so shaky that you're rooting for Jen so hard. And if a book is making me root for a character, I'm there for it because I just love doing that. I like to cheer for characters, or I like to boo them, whatever it is. I love getting connected to characters, and this book made me do that. It gets a little bit slow and it gets a little mundane, which is why I won't say that if you want to read a thriller, read this book, because it's not that thrilling for a very long time. You're getting into such details of the day-to-day lives of these characters, and the mystery is so insanely thick, and then you reach the last like 100 or 60 pages where things start to get revealed and your mind blows. It's the sort of book that actually made me enjoy the ending so much. So many times when I'm reading crime fiction, it's all really good and all, but the ending is just not that satisfying because I'm either not connected to the characters, or the plot twists were not good enough, or it was a little bit predictable. So many things can go wrong. For example, I read The Housemaid. I read 5 Survive. Holly Jackson is one of my most read authors ever. Even then, it's just, the ending is just not that good. I read another book by the same author and the ending is just not that good. But when it comes to this book, it is excellent. It is perfect. I love it so much. I love this book, if it is not apparent. I think even if you're a teenager, you can read the book. Do read the trigger warnings, but I think you can because there's barely any graphic details going on. And even if you're a beginner, you can just know that it's not like a thriller. It's not extremely fast paced. It'll make you very satisfied at the end. At number 10, 9 and 8, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. I just said, right? I love Holly Jackson. She is there in the top reads of 2023. This entire series is so amazing. It's a story of Pippa, who is rehashing the details of a murder that has already taken place. But when she is rehashing all of these details, she comes to know that a wrong person has been convicted for the murder, and now she is going to find out who is the real culprit. That's what the first book is, and I think you can read the first book as a teenager also. You can read the entire series as a beginner, but this one you can read as a teenager, not the next two books. I think they get too graphic, too adult. I think it also says at the back that there are adult themes in this book. This is the story of Pippa rehashing the details of the one murder, but as you move forward, many more secrets are revealed, and it is all connected to the first book. So you can read the first book and forget about it, or if you want to be with the characters for a longer time, you want to delve more into the story, you can read the next two books. And I would highly recommend, if you're an adult, to finish the entire series, because it just gets better and it gets darker. So if you like dark content, you'll love it. It's just so insanely engaging when you're reading it, because the interviews will be in the format of interviews. The proof, there will be photocopies of the journal pages or something like that. There'll be genuine photocopies. I loved it. Pippa and Ravi are literally, they have a special place in my heart. The last page of this book, oh my god, I think has a separate fandom, and I am a part of it. It's all so good. It's also turning into a series, and I cannot wait for it. Okay, you guys, I have done some sort of a mess up, and I think I've counted wrong or something. The next book in the ranking that I am sure of is a series again, which is the Six of Crows duology. I think I counted that as one book only. After this, we have the top 6 books. This is number 7, and the Six of Crows duology, it made me believe in fantasy. I think I read the Cruel Prince trilogy, and I hated it actually genuinely so much. I'm sorry. And I was just so scared that fantasy is not my world. I was so scared that I'll never like fantasy ever again. But then I read the Six of, oh my god, I read the Six of Crows duology, and it was so good. That duology has started my fantasy obsession. Fantasy is probably going to be like a top genre for 2024, and it all started with the Six of Crows duology. That is how it changed my life. I love the characters so much. It's the best found family trope ever. If you don't know what the found family trope is, read those books and you'll know what it is. I'm warning you, the first 100 pages make no sense. The words are just so difficult, but as you move forward, so insanely good. The first book did not feel like the first book. It was so good. It was already a 5-star book for me, and then you go to Crooked Kingdom and it was even better. The adrenaline rush, amazing. The way I did not feel bored at one moment. Oh my god, the Six of Crows duology is so good. I know I'm hyping it up, I think, but it's just how it was for me. It has started my journey with fantasy. I loved the writing style. I love Leigh Bardugo. I can't wait to read other books by her. I think you can read it as a beginner, not like your first books, but like beginner in the fantasy world, because yeah, that's what fantasy books are like. And you can also read it as teenagers. Go ahead, read it and have fun with it. It's very graphic though, so you should read the trigger warnings, but apart from that, it's just so good. I think it is YA anyhow, so have fun. We have come to the top 6 books now, and at number 6 we have Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano, which is the story of 4 sisters and this one man who comes between them and their relationship. It's also sort of like a rendition or something of Little Women, so if you enjoyed Little Women a lot, then you will love this book. This is one of my most favorite books ever, in terms of cover, in terms of title, in terms of story, in terms of characters, in terms of the vulnerability and emotional quotient, in terms of the plot. There are multiple POVs, there are multiple timelines, so many good things in one book. I was so intimidated by it when I was starting it, because the text is so small and the book is quite thick, like 400 pages. It just went by so fast, not because I read the book so quickly, but because I forgot that time exists when I was reading this book, because I just completely switched off my brain from the real world. It was that good. If you are a beginner in the literary fiction world, you can read this book, because this is what literary fiction can be like. It can be amazing. My most favorite book ever. I love this book so much. I love it. Number 5, we have Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. It's a Greek mythology book. It's a story of Achilles and Patroclus, their love story. It revolves around the Trojan War. My first Greek mythology book that I read in 2023, and then I fell in love with it. Even now, if I go through the annotations, I will start crying, and that's it. Also, yeah, how can I Madeline Miller's writing, that's it. Madeline Miller's writing, it should be a writing style within itself. It deserves a place in the dictionary, Madeline Miller's writing style, because of how unique it is, but also because of how beautiful, poetic and lyrical it is. It is so good. At number 4, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. I love this book so much. That's it. No. This is the story of Harriet and Wayne, who have broken up since a very long time, but they go on this annual trip with their friends, which they cannot skip because this is the last time that they're going on this trip, and they can also not tell their friends that they have broken up because this is their last trip, and something else also happens which you will know when you read the book. And so they fake date, and there is miscommunication, and there is second chance and whatnot, like the tropes that I don't like, okay, that I don't prefer, but all of it done so beautifully. I love the characters, I loved the side characters, the friends, I love the found family trope in this. Harriet is me is Harriet. When I really wish someone like Win actually exists. How you navigate adult friendships, how difficult it can be sometimes, how you try to discover yourself again as you're turning older, instead of sometimes already knowing what you want because you're old. I think this book is marketed as a romance, and I don't know why. Even the blurb is like so romancy. Romance is a very small part of it. The characters and what they go through is such a big part, but the good thing is that the culmination of both of these things, the romance and the other stories, it makes the book so enjoyable. I think you should, even as a beginner. I think you can read it as a teenager because it's not that graphic, though it is adult romance, so please do Google it once. At number 3, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Oh, I am reading A Court of Mist and Fury right now. Guys, I'm obsessed. Fantasy romance. I am so obsessed with fantasy romance that like normal human being romance is so pale in comparison to fantasy romance. Oh my god, A Court of Mist and Fury is like so I can't wait to like finish reading it today. This one, sorry, I just completely sidetracked. The reason I'm saying all of this is because this sort of made me fall in love with fantasy romance. It's the story of Pei and Kai. Payton is an ordinary, Kai is an elite, and elites believe that ordinaries carry some sort of a disease, and if ordinaries are living around the elites will die. And so they have eradicated each and every one of them, and Pei is hiding as an ordinary. People don't know that she's an ordinary, but then because of some stuff that happens, she's pushed into the trial where she has to compete with the elites. What I can say is that this is one of the best fantasy romances that I have read, and the world building was not that difficult. Great for beginners, great for teenagers. It is slow burn. There is no spice whatsoever. It's enemies to lovers, forbidden romance. Everything that a person can love in a book. It's not like, oh, it's never been done before, because there are literally so many books like this. Like literally Asimov is like that, but the way in which this book has been written in, I am the biggest fan of this book. It's the first book in a trilogy, so if you cannot wait, then don't read the book, because I'm literally dying. If you're okay with that, go ahead, read this book. You will thank me later. One of the best books ever. Now, competing for number 2 and number 1, we have 2 books which I'm just gonna talk about them together. Book Thief and Alone with You in the Ether. You guys, how do I choose? Book Thief is a story of Lizel, who is a little kid, and the story is set in World War II, and that's all I'm gonna tell you. Alone with You in the Ether is a story of 2 people who feel like they don't deserve love because of their mental health problems, but then they cross each other's path and they're soulmates. How do I choose? The way it's been written in, unique. This book, the way it's been written in, unique. None of these voices I have read in any other book. Now I have to choose 2 and 1. Alone with You in the Ether. I can't. I think Book Thief, no. Okay, with a very heavy heart I'm saying this. Like in my mind they're both in the same place, but only for you guys I'm saying Book Thief is, no. Fine, this one, no. I can't. Oh god. Fine. Alone with You in the Ether is number 2. I just have to do it. I can't, like, it's not in my head, but it is number 2, whatever. I would not recommend this book to beginners or teenagers, but if you want to read a different kind of a romance, then this is your book. If you're bored with the normal rom-com books, then this is your book. I love this book so much because the characters are great, because how real they are, and the writing style. The main thing is the writing style. I have not read such a beautifully written romance ever. So these two people feeling like they don't deserve love, but then they cross each other's path and they just connect like puzzle pieces connecting. I don't know, it's the best book that I've ever read. So yeah, that's number 2. And number 1, the reason it is number 1, The Book Thief, is such an amazing book. I already told you what it's about, but the way it's been written in, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but once you do get used to it, it's one of the best books that I have ever. Obviously, I just said it's number 1. I think that this is great for beginners too, if you want to start with historical fiction, and I think you can read it as a teenager too. Do read the trigger warnings, but you can read it as a teenager too. This one just stole my heart, and I remember bursting out crying in the end. I think the only reason I'm giving this one number 1 and this number 2 is because of the physical reaction that this book extracted out of me towards the end. And this is the sort of book where you're not reading it for the story, like, oh, what's going to happen in the end. You sort of already know the ending because death likes to spoil the ending for you, but it's to feel the story. It's to get connected to these characters and feel the story, feel what they're all going through. It's all about the feelings. And with that, we come towards the end of the video. 23 books, all ranked. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that is genuinely it. I have nothing else to say. I hope that I have an even more amazing reading year in 2024, and I hope you also have an amazing reading year in 2024. You read these books if you have not read them. They're literally the best books ever. And that's it. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. A very happy new year. Bye.